Okay, now can you hear us?
No, this is total separate. Yeah, this is the number 7.
Different.
We just have a 10.
Okay.
This that she handed us is number 7.
Number 7.
Okay.
But we don't have the paperwork.
No video, no audio.
No video, no audio?
No video, but no.
Okay.
They can see you. They say you look good, but.
Hey, baby. Okay.
You ready?
But still no audio.
Now.
So now,
Okay. We're just on a long delay. Huh?
Okay, I'll call this meeting to order. Lori, do a roll call, please.
Charzell,
Here.
here,
Here,
Cameron, here, and Cook.
please silence all cell phones. We'll do a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of
the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
I got something here that I'd like to add to the agenda that came in the last minute. And that is the park budget. That'd be number 9.
Okay.
Yep,
You want number 8 in voting action items?
yep,
Okay.
please. Okay, anything else?
I make a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of the park budget.
Support.
There's been a motion and it's been seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passed. Minutes from the meeting of September 15th.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes from September 15th.
Support.
It's been a motion to support or make a motion to support the minutes for the September 15th, 2025 minutes. It's been supported. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passed. Treasurer's report.
Do we have the bills on the table? Or are the bills on the table? Yep. I'm gonna get them.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
Support.
There's been a motion to pay the bills, been supported. Is there any further discussion? Now, Laura, we need a roll call, please.
Einnet,
Yes.
Charzell,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Cameron, yes. Loomis,
Yes. Motion passed. Public comment. Henry.
Emery Close. A few months ago, I brought up open meeting act violation. That will handle it for everybody. It's a formal complaint. If you go over the subject here, it says this is formal complaint, violation of Open Meeting Act. Dear Michigan Millington Township Board, please find attached a formal complaint regarding the violation of the Michigan Open Meetings Act that occurred during the August 11th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. This complaint is being submitted to you, your board, for review and corrective action. A copy has been sent to the Michigan Attorney General and the Tuscola County Circuit Court for their awareness of this potential investigation. I respectively request acknowledgement, a receipt, and a response outlining steps the Millington Township Board will take to address these issues. I have it all listed out for you guys in the whole thing. Thank you.
Thanks, Emery. Any other public comment? Loud word.
I also have handouts.
You?
I haven't started speaking yet. On your 3 minutes. We ready? You want to look at that first, or am I ready?
It gives us a chance to compare it.
Please don't start my time till I speak.
I'm set if everybody else is.
Just one more minute. please.
Okay.
The second page is actually a copy of what was in the Tuscola County Advertiser, the published notification.
Okay, I'm good.
Everybody else good?
Yep.
Okay,
Ms. Cameron,
Yes, sir.
is it?
Yes.
Mr. Cook? You just did not acknowledge, so I just wanted to ask, so I just wanted to know. The August 18th, 2025 Township Board meeting, Mrs. Jarzell made a motion to direct the ZA to use the approved quarrying SLUP application checklist for the administrative completeness, establishing an escrow account to cover the professional review cost, and upon receipt, the escrow engage and necessary consultants to complete the review as recommended by our township attorney. Mrs. Cameron made the second, motion passed. Then the township board voted to allow the zoning administrator to investigate and, if applicable, submit written charges of miss, and nonfeasance with the township attorney's help against PC members as a removal proceeding. Then the township board made a motion to recommend to the PC to rescind their July 14th, 2025 motion of modifying the Tri-County aggregate SLUP. The motion was passed. It is very evident by the action of certain township board members that they are weaponizing their authority to shut down or make it more difficult for Tri-County aggregates to operate. October 18th, 2025, PC meeting, your handout. Vice Chair Motchke acknowledged that the wording of the Tabernacle of Praise Church SLUP was not correct in the public notifications and mailings. Secretary Garzell said it was accurate. She wrote them. There was no mention of allowing the Tabernacle of Praise to operate as a church in an ag residential district, which they do not have a SLUP for. Only a SLUP for the carport was published and mailed. Carports only need a zoning permit. There was discussion of the word "for" in the notification and mailings. "For" has a range of meanings, primarily uses a preposition to express purpose, reason, or specific duration. Yet once again, the township ordinances, section 1801, were not followed. The ZA volunteered to review SLUP notifications in the future for the PC to verify that they are correct. Is that the ZA's job? If mistakes like this would have been made concerning the gravel pit, it would have been immediately stopped. September 12th or September 15th, 2025, Township Board meeting. The Township Board made a motion to cover all the costs of the Tabernacle of Praise Church SLUP items due to perceived township administrative error. The Township Board authorized the spending of this money on a simple yay/nay vote instead of the proper requirements for the authorization of expenditures by a roll call vote. I therefore ask that the Township Board add to their August 18th, 2025 motion to have the ZA include investigating the PC meetings for September, October 2023 concerning the Mud Bog Campground SLUP, as on those nights There were numerous miss, and non-feasance by every member of the planning commission board, including the township PC rep, Mrs. Jarzell. Also include September 15th township meeting, non-roll call vote, and the October 13th, 2025 PC meeting concerning the Tabernacle of Praise Slub. Your ZA should be excluded from the October 13th, 2025 meeting, as her input left this miss, and non-feasance continue. The township should not be allowed to pick and choose what meetings they want to investigate. And I have formal request for you guys to add that to your investigation. Because once again, you do not have the right to pick and choose what meetings you want to investigate just because it's about the gravel pit. Include them all. Where mistakes are made, needs to be investigated and taken action against.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Any other public comment?
Sorry, I had to read fast. There's a lot of them.
Okay,
Okay.
go ahead, Alvin.
So on this 11 pages that you guys have going on here, on this malfusion and everything against the planning commission. So there's some of the Morris's, we got malfusion in there on the planning commissions for not enforcing the ordinances, but it was the township board who put a stay on it, not the planning commission.
That's
It was
correct.
the township board that told the current zoning administrator that we had back then to allow the planning commission to look into creating ordinances to support short-term rentals. It was the township board that finalized the last draft that we had. In fact, the county, Tuscola County's planning commission board praised us for the verbiage that we came up with. The first section of verbiage that we came up with on all this, you guys declined, kicked it back to us, said there was too much. The county planning commission did the same. When we reduced it, took stuff out of there that we didn't want to, you guys approved it. Sent it forward, gave you your blessing. Here's one thing. That's on the Morris's. There's multiple things in here that are wrote up in your guys' 11-page thing that is evident. Our last meeting is a perfect example of it. The zoning administrator, the liaison, came to the board, pressured to two of the other board members to approve the special use permit for the church when the publication wasn't done right. What was the need to move forward to accelerate that? For them to build a carport on their church that's already operating. There was no stay on that. They weren't told they couldn't have Sunday service. There was none of that. It only takes one person in the township to appeal what happened that night. One person comes up and says, I'm going to appeal it because I wasn't notified. And your guys' publication didn't tell me that you guys were given a special use permit on this for them to operate a church there. There's a perfect example for something to be appealed. We were leaned on. The question was, why didn't you contact me to contact the attorney? Because to me, it was black and white. We're going to move it to the next meeting. We're going to republicate, correct publication in there and do it correctly. We've gone through this enough. We don't need to move forward with this. We're not telling them they can't have service. We're not telling them they can't build a carport. What's 3.5 more weeks in a construction project that has bumps all the way through it? There's numerous things in this 11-page. Biggest thing is, I asked, came to the office last month before the meeting, because I knew what was coming. Is there any way two boards with the attorney can sit down with the zoning administrator and we can straighten out conducts on the boards, what the roles are of the boards? We can sit down with the attorney and we can straighten all this out before we move forward with something like this. Was that ever brought up in the last meeting? Why? What are we doing? We're gonna pay for attorney fees for the township.
Who did you request that from?
We're gonna pay attorney fees for the township to come after us. The township's gonna have to pay attorney fees to represent us. Because you can't just leave us out there. We have representation from the township. So now we're gonna pay attorney fees on both sides. How many hours are we gonna pay the attorneys to sit and go through this? Mr. Worth is right. What do you think is gonna happen when the attorney goes to represent us? And he starts thinking through all the meetings and finds there's stuff in every meeting. It's the same as the appeal that we had on the Dudleys. When those packages come into the office for the special use permits. Who accepts the application? Zoning.
Yeah.
administrator.
3 minutes.
Zoning administrator accepts the application.
just get the.
If the 3 minutes is up, I'm sorry.
Your time's up. Elvin, to add to that, we do have training come up. Laura's working on training. To answer your question.
Right, what are we
Hey,
doing, guys?
down with the attorney working out. You've already got 5 lawsuits against you. You're trying for 5 more, because I'm gonna bring a couple.
This is crazy, the road we're on.
Okay.
I thought we were on a better road.
I was
2 months
kinda,
ago, I thought things were turning around.
I was kinda hoping we did. Thanks, Elvin.
Right on.
Steve?
Yeah, I could add a lot of comments to Steve Lay 7600 Osborne Drive. I certainly hope we can work out all these issues, but when you look at over the last many years. I mean, Bob and Mr. Lewis, there is conflicts of interest and neglect, non-efficiency, and. I mean, it goes back 4.5 years ago when you said on the letter right from the beginning on the STR issue. And then set at the planning commission table and didn't even bring it up to anybody. And then tabled it to the public and said, we're gonna table it until we have a detailed investigation and more clarity with the township attorney. And then you never talked to about the letter that you'd already had for 6 weeks. That was non-feasance. And then I submitted a letter on coal conflict of interest, 26 pages of documentation, all the evidence you could ever want, highlighted everything. And then a 3-page document that I also presented got sent into the attorney again. Miss Mal or not, take your pick. That was your office. I had to make sure that the right one was finally sent. I can keep on going. I've seen so much at the planning commission. We all have at this board, and we need to clean up our act. But the one thing I would like to say is that, like I've been saying to the planning commission, I love the fact that we have 2 public comments. I love it. We get to talk for 3 minutes. It's not enough. Everybody runs out of time. It's our passionate time. I mean, this place is full for a reason, right? So that's a passionate time. So if we could get the planning commission to have more than one, I'd love it. And then, no offense, but I think it's important when people are dropping the bombs that they're dropping, that their name get mentioned in the minutes at the board level and maybe capture the essence of what they said. And that's all. And I appreciate all of you for what you're trying to do. And let's hang in there. Thanks.
Thanks, Steve. Anybody else? Okay. The next thing is the wildlife conservation funding and land protection by Kara Tolton.
So hello. How are you all?
Good.
Let me know if you need some help.
How do you make it real big?
Go to from beginning. Got it. And I'll just tell you when it goes. Does that work?
Yeah, we're
You can just hit the space bar or the forward arrow. Thank you for having me here tonight. I know I kind of invited myself, but I am Kara Colton and I'm a wildlife biologist with Michigan Department of Natural Resources. I'm here to discuss a special type of public lands here in the state of Michigan, and those are wildlife conservation lands. These lands can be called things in the state of Michigan, but you've probably heard them as state game areas, state wildlife management areas, state wildlife research areas. Those are just a few of the names of what the public land that I'm referring to specifically this evening. The goal for my presentation tonight is to improve your understanding of the protections and restrictions that state wildlife conservation lands are managed by the DNR and those restrictions that we have with these types of land. And that has to do with the funding and where that comes from and how we acquire these lands within the state of Michigan. So 2 of those things, oh, go ahead. So just a little bit of brief history about wildlife conservation in Michigan. I'm sure several of you are aware of this, but in the 19th century, it was pretty bleak for wildlife when European settlers arrived. There was a lot of unregulated use of our natural resources and wildlife that led to the depletion and extirpation of several wildlife species throughout the state of Michigan. In the 1920s and 30s, that's when a lot of wildlife policy was formalized throughout North America. And in 1921, that's when the Michigan Department of Conservation was developed. Through wildlife policy, fast forward to current day, this has led to the success of wildlife rebounding, not only in Michigan, but across North America. And we call this the conservation success story. But this is done because of several different factors that play into that. And a few of those that I want to touch on are these key concepts on the bottom of this slide, and that is that wildlife belongs to everyone. It is a public trust resource. Another key concept is that hunting is controlled and that there is equal access for everyone, that we make science-based management decisions, that there is permanent long-term funding for wildlife and wildlife habitats, and that there's also acquired, protected, and managed public lands for the explicit use of wildlife and wildlife-based recreation. And the two of those that I'll be focusing this talk on tonight are the last two, so the funding and the public land section. Next slide. So the first part of that is about dedicated funding. So Michigan DNR, our wildlife and fisheries division. So I'm in the wildlife division. Just like all other state and wildlife agencies in the US, we're largely supported by anglers, hunters, trappers, that we collect funds through a federal excise tax. I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with this, but there is a federal excise tax on equipment used by hunters and anglers. And once this tax is collected, it's gone into a giant pot, basically, and this is a user pay public benefit system is what we refer to it as. The federal funding program is in conjunction with the US Fish and Wildlife Service, and they allocate these funds to fish and wildlife agencies across the United States. And this program is known as the Wildlife and Sport Fish Restoration Program. Specific to wildlife in general is the Pittman-Robertson Wildlife Restoration Act. That is the act that's in place when you get excise tax for hunting equipment. And then there's also there's a angler act, which is the Dingell-Johnson Act, that's related to fisheries and the excise tax on fisheries equipment. So this funding model, like I said, creates a cycle of success that you can see in this diagram here. But largely, like I wanted to reiterate, is this is a user-based public benefit system. Another funding source is also state hunting license, and the fees that are collected from that is revenue that the state uses as well. Slide. So to get into a little bit about more of the federal funding, the PR Act is what I'll refer to it as. So Pittman-Robertson Act, you'll hear people say PR dollars. These federal funds can only be used for specific wildlife conservation purposes, and those purposes are defined up here. So restoration, conservation management, enhancement of wild birds, mammals, and their habitats, to provide public use and public access to wildlife resources, to provide education to hunters and the development of shooting ranges, wildlife research, facilities maintenance and construction, and land acquisition, which this is not currently used in Michigan, but this was through federal funding that we get allocated. The last thing I want to say about this is that the misuse of these funds could result in their withdrawal to state wildlife agencies, which could be pretty devastating to our wildlife, our public lands that we use these on, as well as shooting programs throughout the state. So a little bit more about that excise tax and kind of how it's broken down. The more specifics on it is that there's an 11% excise tax on all firearms, ammunition, bows, quivers, broadheads, on all of those that are sold. And then there's a 10% excise tax on pistols, handguns, and revolvers. This is a permanent annual appropriation for the state. Based on these taxes that are collected, and it's based on the sales for 2 previous years is how that money is determined. It also requires that the state has to provide match funds in order to receive these federal funds. We have to have a 25% state match that doesn't include any federal dollars, and this is typically from our license sales. So a little bit more numbers here. Fun math, but PR funding in the states, like I said, is determined through a specific calculation. And it's based on 50% for the state's land base versus the national total, and 50% for the state's number of paid license holders versus the national total. And Michigan DNR can receive reimbursement up to 75% for total eligible projects. And then, like I said, that remaining 25% has to be matched with state funds, or basically from license sales or other revenues. And how do PR appropriations break down for Michigan compared to other states in the country? So Michigan, depending on the year, typically will rank between 4th and 7th in the dollars that are received from federal PR funds. We are number 7 in the number of hunters throughout the US. And since the inception of the Pittman-Robertson Act, so that was implemented in 1937. So since then until now, we've received over $500 million in PR funds. And in 2024, that was just over $28 million. Which was a decline from previous years. 2023 was the largest amount the state of Michigan has received from PR funds, and that's slowly starting to decrease again. So a little bit more on license fees here. So under federal law, state hunting license fees, like I said, have to be used to match these federal funds. And this is protected under state statute, and that state statute is what's called assent legislation, which that's the specific code for anyone that's interested. They could go look up. The assent legislation requires that the revenue from the hunting license fees have to be eligible for PR. That's in the statute. It requires that we follow those rules and restrictions with the PR Act, and that it prohibits these funds being used for any other uses than those defined in the PR Act. This is protected in the Michigan Constitution. And in about 2023, about $35 million of gross revenue was generated from Michigan hunting license fees. Next slide, please. So some fun graphics here. So hunting assessments provide revenue in a number of ways. That could be revenue from timber sales, oil and gas production royalties, and land acquired and license fees are deposited into what we call a game and fish protection trust fund. So the keyword there is the trust fund. And where the money goes from here is basically annually per state statute, $6 million plus the earnings of the interest and earnings go into what's called the Game and Fish Protection Fund. So that money is moved over there annually per state statute. And then we add in the hunting and fishing license revenue into that. And that is the Game and Fish annual appropriation budget that the DNR is working with. And last year that was about $89 million. And if you look at that last part of the slide, it breaks down into how that money was allocated between the different groups. So that top one is law enforcement division, fisheries, wildlife was allocated 17 million. And then it kind of breaks down from there how that money is allocated out to different parts of the department. And then, like I said, looking at the wildlife division budget a little bit more specifically, like I mentioned, a lot of our funding comes from federal reimbursements and that PR excise tax. So our total budget in 2024 was about $44.7 million. Most of that being made up from federal dollars, and then the rest of it coming from various different sources, but 39% came from that state game and fish fund. The 16% that comes from the general fund and other state funds, that money is typically allocated to go towards combating wildlife disease issues, invasive species issues, and wetland restoration problems. 20% of the budget is pass-through grants or contracts, most likely with universities. So that money kind of just funnels through us. And then less than 5% of our budget is allocated for threatened and endangered species work. Within the wildlife division alone, we have 160 full-time employees, and 110 of us are allocated out throughout the field. So the majority of staff are not in Lansing. We're spread out throughout the entire state. So that was it with the numbers part. So thanks for hanging the numbers. The second part I want to touch on is public lands, and that's the main message that I want to get home is in this section. So a little bit about history of land acquisition by the wildlife or game division, depending on what time you're talking about. But back all the way back to 1916 was the first time using federal funding, purchasing of 196 acres of the W.B. Teal Farm. This is now part of the Dansville State Game Area, if any of you are familiar with that. This is also the year that the Hansen Game Refuge was created. In 1920s, there were several game refuges that were established, and in 1937, we had 20 game areas that involved over 1.1 million acres that the Wildlife Division was the land administrators to. By 1944, there was a large allocation of funds from the general fund, $3 million from the general fund, and $600,000 from the game protection fund that went towards the establishment of state recreation areas. And in 1944, there were 23 game areas that totaled 79,000, which is a lot of land that had been acquired then. So what lands am I talking about? I'm sure several of you are aware of the different types of DNR managed state lands, but there are different restrictions with these depending on what type of land you are talking about. So there are state wildlife or game areas. We have over 250,000 acres. These lands are primarily managed for wildlife habitat and wildlife restoration. Our state forests, there's 3.9 million acres that are managed for multiple uses. This could include forestry products, minerals, water quality, and different recreations such as camping, hiking, off-road vehicles, or horseback riding can be done on these lands. And then we have state parks and recreation areas, and there's over 360,000 acres managed for the protection and preservation of natural and cultural resources. And these lands are predominantly to provide access to land and water-based recreation and educational opportunities. And a lot of these, the way these lands are used or their primary purpose is based on how they were acquired and the funds that were used to acquire these lands. So within the wildlife division specifically, I want to touch on the 450,000 acres that we manage. Those are in red on this map, so scattered throughout the state, but predominantly most of those are in the southern lower peninsula. We also co-manage 3.9 million acres of state forest, which is found in that brownish pink color with the forestry division. And these are broken up, these are different. The red up there are broken up between game areas, wildlife research areas. And then there are also 89 state wildlife management areas that are embedded throughout state forests and state parks. The DNR Wildlife Division manages more land than the Parks and Recreation Division. Yet we have 1/8 of the staff on board and about 1/3 of the annual budget. So the big thing on this slide is that wildlife lands, so those state game lands, wildlife management areas are not multi-use lands. So federal and state statute requires that these lands are primarily managed for wildlife purposes. So there might even be more restrictive uses based upon acquisition funding sources. Secondary uses can be allowed, but they cannot interfere with the primary purpose, and that is to benefit wildlife and wildlife related recreation. So it's up to the states to decide those secondary uses and activities and if they interfere or don't interfere. But it's also our responsibility to controls to make sure that we're meeting those federal requirements and obligations for the land. And so should the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service determine that the state is not adequately managing the frequency or intensity of these secondary uses, and I'm referring to uses like ORV use, recreational trail use, these lands could then be taken from us, or PR funding could be removed, which would be not a good situation for us to be in. One thing I do want to talk about is how the DNR contributes to local governments, and this is through payments in lieu of taxes, or you may have heard them called PILT payments. So license fee and PR purchased lands pay the highest PILT rate to local county governments. So we are statutorily required to do so by the state of Michigan to local units of government for public lands that the DNR manages. We are the only state agency that is responsible for paying PILTs on lands that we administer. And these PILT payments are made as line item appropriations from the Department of Treasury Act and the School Aid Act as well. And in 2023, the total payments paid out to local governments was about over $32 million. So to wrap this all up here, thanks for hanging in with me today. Historic conservation funding model has been very successful in the past. However, the future of it is slightly fragile. And that's why I'm here to get the word out today. Our wildlife division is responsible for managing wild birds and mammals, and our work is becoming more and more. We're seeing increasing negative issues with human wildlife interactions, so a lot of wildlife problems. We're seeing emerging wildlife diseases. We have to manage invasive species while also trying to better understand the impacts of climate moving into the future. So as this presentation has demonstrated, our funding model relies on a user-based public benefit. So hunters and sport shooters are the ones that are predominantly paying for wildlife conservation funding. Yet we're seeing participation in hunting declining across the United States. This isn't an issue that's unique to Michigan. This is something that we're seeing nationally. So conservation funds nationally are declining. Since 2000 alone, Michigan has seen a 30% decrease in the number of hunters on the landscape. So the wildlife division is beginning to feel the strain of this. So we're concerned about this moving into the future, as we are also making sure that we need to meet the requirements for our lands that have been purchased with federal dollars, especially from ORV use, mountain bikers, horseback riders, that type of thing. We're responsible for managing over 100 dams on state land. Several of these were put in the 1950s and have well outlived their engineering lifespan and are at the point where they need to either be removed or replaced. And that can cost millions of dollars even for one dam. And several of our buildings were also built within that same time frame. So a lot of these are in dire need of updates and repairs. So we have been relying heavily on partnerships, leveraging funds and private donations for conservation work. But the future of wildlife is going to rely on a broad-based conservation funding for the solution. So a lot of other states have started to implement solutions to either increasing their general fund appropriations, looking at like an outdoor gear tax, a general sales tax, lottery revenue, that type of thing, as far as a portion of those also going to state wildlife conservation work. And like I said, looking at a broad-based conservation funding solution. And lastly, just the key messages I hope you take away this evening is that wildlife conservation in Michigan has been a success story from what it was in the 19th century. And this is because of the dedicated and protection in our funding and the dedicated and protection in our public lands that are available for folks. Federal and state statutes, though, restrict on how these protected funds can be spent and how these lands can be managed to ensure that their main primary benefit is for wildlife into the future. And the continued success of our wildlife conservation here in Michigan is going to rely on not only partnerships, but a broad-based funding solution where all beneficiaries are contributing towards conservation efforts. With that, that's the end of my talk. So I don't know if anyone has any questions. I know that was a lot at you right now, but I'm happy to also provide my contact information if anyone would like that down the road. And happy to chat about anything moving forward. So I appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you.
So when we hear there's no money available for that yet, now we understand why.
Mhm.
We have a budget right now, so that's good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is a PA 116 parcel 017-031-000-280003.
Said subject to change. I wasn't understanding what that meant.
Almost acts like he's gonna split the house off it, but I don't know that for sure. I guess I don't know. I never talked to him. Do you know anything about it?
I don't, I was just looking over all the paperwork and it says that we have a map back here and it says house lots not included. So I think if we look at the maps, and that's just me assuming, I did not speak to him about, just gone over everything. And he has this little bit drawn out, it says house lot not included. So that would be like 3/4.
Now, would that be the house and also the woods or just the house?
I think, I feel.
Just a
with-
house?
With this line drawn here, because.
This whole piece right here?
And it says house lot not included. So.
Okay.
So was he thinking that if that split off, that the number may change? That what the parcel number?
Did anyone speak to him about?
I just,
I never. First I knew about it.
well, I guess until we get clarification, maybe we want to,
He is wanting a minimum, like, for 10 to 9 years, he's just requesting the 10 years.
I assume that's the old surgeon farm?
yeah, Barb and Earl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he never approached me about splitting the house off, so I'm not for sure what that's all about.
But this needs to be approved by local governing body, I know before November 1st. To be effective for his current tax year, which I don't know. But we gotta get it through everyone else. And you approve it before this year.
So if he's approving the whole properties and then he splits off the house lot, you would have to pay taxes on the house lot that was split off, pay back what you've saved. But if he hasn't gotten any savings yet and he splits it off, I don't think that will make a difference
And
on the PA 116.
To me, it seemed like he'd already split the house off and then applied for the PA 116, but. You know. No, this is the first time I've seen it, so I don't know.
So to me, when he says subject to change and he's saying that on the parcel number, he's meaning that the house split off would be a different parcel number.
Mhm.
That's how I understand it.
My thinking is, how can you apply for something when it hasn't been split up? yet? I guess we get it for, I don't know.
Well, I don't,
So unless he's got the cart before the horse, but.
yeah.
can we tell him?
But you did see it on Wednesday when you approved the agenda. So you just not changing the ordinance.
We put this in here, like, Is that,
It's in our agenda.
I
It's
know
on
it's
our,
our.
Yeah,
I know.
apparently
No, I-
Jackie, I guess.
no, I mean, this was in our paper we got emailed to
Yeah,
us.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I saw it then. I just assumed since it had to do with, I saw there was the land split thing. I just assumed incorrectly apparently that Robert knew about it. So I
No,
was saving my questions for
no,
directing them to
Oh,
Robert.
maybe he'd be here for
no, I
questions.
had no idea.
Okay. I'd like to help them out. Please. Approve it. Is there, what would be negative if we approved it? What, is there anything?
He would have to get it. Do whatever he's gonna do to get a split, right?
Right, you gotta come in and split it off,
We're just approving the whole person.
the whole parcel. I guess we can approve the whole thing, I don't know. Never had nothing like this, normally they just come in, well, I want this parcel. Cause it's gonna be two separate parcels now, and he splits it off.
Right, but it's, I was looking more into the farmland, the preservation program part of it. I'm in favor of that, preserving the right farmland. the town. So that's why I was anxious to help out, but since I knew, I assumed you guys had all done it before, I didn't realize.
Well, we have done it, not when he's gonna split it off,
Okay,
normally it's already done, you know, you got this parcel. Of property and I want it to be 116, and it's no problem, well, that's all gonna change when he splits that house off. But I don't know, maybe we can,
Well. With the track record and what's going on, I wouldn't be comfortable. Approving it when it says subject to change, because. That's changing the information that we're getting. And without it being explained or already done.
yeah, cause this
I'm worried-
parcel number, once he splits that off, that parcel number is all gonna change.
And is that
That's
what he
what
means,
it's
that just that the parcel number is gonna change? Does this PA 116 have to only be for this parcel number?
I'm not for sure what he,
can we quick call him since we have the phone number? I'd be willing to
Well,
do it.
you're approving this parcel number. If the parcel number changes, does that change the
Well, I mean,
approval?
if we call him and
I
ask
would think
what
it
is
would.
subject to change, what he means by that. Is a phone call legal? I mean, like, we can just get an answer. Is there something taboo about calling?
I have no idea.
I'll give it a go.
he gets in trouble again.
We have to go by what's written on the request.
Wish he would have explained it.
Or come to answer questions.
Did anyone tell me it was on his?
I did that.
Hi, so when this is Laura from Millington Township, we just had a couple questions about your farmland management space preservation program application. That was it. My phone number is on your caller ID. Thank you. Bye. If he filled out the
Okay.
paperwork, I feel like he would have known it was here. Like, I didn't know things could show up on the agenda without one of us putting them on there.
Yeah, I'm not so sure we can approve that, because like I say, when you split that house off. That parcel number is all gonna change, and we're approving this parcel number,
Okay,
am I correct?
That's what I believe. I agree.
Okay, roadwork 2026. Barnes Road, they're replacing all three bridges this year. They're in the process of replacing the last two. The road commission told me it'd be a good thing to redo or retarget that road since we're redoing the three bridges. And that's a half mile. So, or I should say 0.76 miles. We normally do at least a mile a year, so I reached out to the board to see if they want to do any extra, let's say a half a mile. And I didn't know if anybody had any ideas. I got ideas, but I don't wanna
Well, I think
tell you
I,
my idea.
I responded, and I believe you were, that was one of your ideas you had originally
Mhm.
too. And my thought was from the village limits on Fulmer Road to Barnes Road. That was, and I know you had mentioned that as well.
Yeah, I was thinking of that one. I done some road or some driving and it seemed like that one was the most needed. But I didn't wanna come out. This is what I recommend. I wanted your guys' input. Any input, or are you happy?
That
with
would be a good section. It's more of a
Okay.
section.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess sort of agree on that. Agree to disagree. Okay, number 4, Lions Club. Lions Club give out cider and donuts every year. We would like to use the fire hall. I contacted Dave Russell. He said it's not a problem. We do it every year, but I wanted to get the board's approval. Number 5, writing policies and procedures. I don't know anything about
That
that.
was me. I want to try and when I was at a conference this past month, and they were very said policies and procedures need to be in place for things that we do. And I think we've had a good turn of starting to do things, but when we vote on something, we need to follow through and make sure that they are in place and that they cover all of the angles. One of them being that came to mind was putting notices in the paper for planning commission, for ourselves, for elections, things like that. And I would I've talked to Jackie and she's pulled out some of them that we have. Some of them look like they might need updating. So if the board is okay, I would like to work with Jackie a little bit. I know she's pulled out a lot of the policies and procedures that might be in, I don't know what.
That's Darwin Heck.
That was,
It's
no, I'm just saying, she was gonna put the
Oh.
policies and procedures in a book out here. I don't know if she did. But,
She did send that list to everybody.
yeah, and she sent the list, and even like, when we made a policy to notify the people of things that are here at the meeting. But we didn't exactly specify who's gonna be doing the notification, how the notification is gonna be done.
He said it was mostly the clerk that was supposed to fall on.
But if you have a policy, they said you don't have to have it the clerk.
Okay.
It can be, you can designate someone else if you feel is more beneficial. So I just wanted to get your input. Are you in support of going over some of these? If Jackie and I go through and maybe I can talk to you, we can put some ideas together and just clarify them. So that's.
It would be helpful because like this putting in the paper, that was done in, I think it was 2016, we found something in the minutes. They talked about it, then the next month they voted on it, said, yes, we should, but it never got printed. Yeah, we have a policy, but it never got printed as a policy. And when that happens, it falls through the cracks, because in the past, Alvin did some of them, the secretary did some of them, there was no set person, even though years back, when none of us were around, it had been voted on. So that would probably
Recently,
be,
Jackie we have started a folder to keep any new policies as she's been going through papers. And I've been scanning things in to get things digitized. We come across things, we've been putting things together. So I'm hoping moving forward, we're going in the right direction.
Right. Well, and even, with your special land use policies, if you even have that in the motion of who's going to be responsible And we have listed
Yeah.
who is able to do that, is it the president, is it the secretary, is it, maybe one writes it and we have it reviewed by somebody, so we're not.
Didn't we just vote on, if somebody's on the agenda, they're supposed to be notified?
It's the policy.
And we don't know if Darwin was notified he was gonna be in.
See, and that's why it was never like specified who's doing the notification. And that's why I would like to write up the policy of who would be doing the notification, bring it to you, see if that's acceptable. Our options.
And then when something comes up, you pull the policy, it's right there. And if it's in the policy, who does it? We're good. If it isn't, then at the meeting, with our motion, like she mentioned, you can make that statement at the time. It would clarify a lot of things.
Are we allowed to go back? Cause Darren's called.
Go ahead.
No, it's not. It's my son-in-law. I lied. Oh,
Keep moving. Okay. Number 6, interim administrative implementation of section 14-.14.
At its October 14th, 2025 meeting, the planning commission voted to move forward with a public hearing to amend section 14.14C. The zoning ordinance regarding the moving of buildings and used manufactured homes. The amendment corrects obsolete language requiring a registered building inspector and a certificate of code compliance, which neither can be obtained under the current state law. As written, the existing section prevents issuance of zoning permits for relocating used manufactured homes, even when the township can ensure safety and code compliance through modern inspection methods. My request tonight to avoid unnecessary hardship to the property owners during the ordinance amendment process is to request that the township board authorize the zoning administrator to apply the proposed amendments, inspection and bonding provisions on an interim basis. This will allow the township to accept inspection reports from a qualified inspector or inspection agency approved by the township and to require an escrow or performance guarantee for any deficiencies pending final adoption of the amendment. My rationale for this request is to propose process aligns with the intent of section 14.14C and the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act. It maintains public safety and ensures code compliance, and it allows the affected property owner to proceed without delay while the formal amendment process is underway. I did include in your agenda packet our attorney-client privileged confidential information with our attorney, Tim Perone. You can see my question to him. I wanted you to receive that, although he didn't give me a written response. His answer to the last question is when I asked, can the township allow property owner to move forward absent the ordinance amendment? And he said 2 things. He said that because this is not, the language currently as it's drafted is not something that we can accomplish because those provisions are no longer within the state law. And that the suggested of the ordinance amendment is what is keeping with the essence or the intent of the zoning ordinance. He said that it would be within the township board's purview or discretion to make that decision. So I bring this to you for your consideration. Any questions?
I have a couple. So this will allow the township to accept inspection report from a qualified inspector. Who is a qualified inspector?
So the next agenda item, the township board has to approve the inspector that I would utilize for this service.
Okay.
And so I sent out requests for proposal to 4 different inspection entities. We received responses from 2. I have included both of those responses with your agenda packet information based on the information that we received. And
Was that the PEA and GASB one? Is that considered 2 different ones?
there's 2 different.
Okay. I thought
There's property scouts inspections and there's quality property inspections. Those are 2 different entities that responded to our proposal request. So to answer your question, I am bringing you 2 qualified inspectors. The board would have the discretion of choosing who they want to utilize for that service. Any other questions?
Where did you find this?
I asked
Email
about.
I
I asked around and I was given 4 suggestions. And so I reached out to the 4 that were suggested with me. But that particular one that you're looking at right now is not the one that we're talking about. That's for a different agenda item.
Okay,
It's the documents. Yes.
Quality property inspections.
So these are, this is the first. This is the first proposal and this is the second. But just to clarify, that's not the agenda item that we're discussing right now. Choosing your inspector is a different agenda.
so we don't have Tim Perone's response on that?
He didn't write me back, he simply gave me
And his response per phone call was,
that it would be the township's discretion.
I'd rather see something in writing, but the way things are going.
Well, we talked about this at length at the planning commission meeting. The way it's written ties it up, nothing can be done.
It's impossible to meet that language.
So it's not like we're breaking a rule, we can't follow it. And we are in the process of making the changes to the ordinance that will be voted on next month.
But it hasn't been changed yet.
But all we're changing are the words.
No, it hasn't been changed yet.
Yes,
You are
correct.
correct. And so if the
Okay.
board, it's totally within the board's discretion. If the board
We're
would
not
rather wait
changing.
for the amendment, you are absolutely able to make that be your vote. I'm bringing it to you for your consideration.
and basically you're bringing it to us with the lawyers saying it was okay.
He said
So that
it
you
was
can
within the
expedite,
township board's discretion.
but you're saying that so that you could expedite.
The
that
property owner's
person-
application.
And if we don't do this, then the application will wait until we
Until
change it.
after the amendment.
Okay.
That is correct.
And it's not changing the essence of the amendment, it's only changing the words that are no longer legal and valid and usable in,
Right, because it requires
Nowadays.
a registered building inspector and the state of Michigan does no longer have registered building inspectors and it requires a certificate of compliance, which is not something that the state of Michigan issues any longer. So those 2 things, the registered building inspector and the certificate of code compliance are outdated language, which is why it needs to be updated.
But we can wait for them to do it in the ordinance if we would like.
If you would prefer to wait for the ordinance to be amended, then you can certainly do so.
Get some little gun shy where everything's going, so.
Yeah.
Me too.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 8, ASTI Environmental Township Record Review.
So actually, number 7.
That's the handout you gave us?
So number 7 is not the same thing that we just discussed.
Number 6 is the changing of the ordinance.
Number 6
Yeah,
is,
so 7 and 8 as qualified inspector and inspection agency.
which are 2 totally different things.
So that's, 7 is the one that she,
Number 7 is the one that I gave you a photocopy of because I didn't yet have the proposal from the second provider. So I have both proposals. You have those in front of you now.
This is. These are. Got it.
Again, at its October 14th, 2025 meeting, the planning commission voted to move forward with a public hearing to amend section 14.14C of the Millington Township zoning ordinance regarding the moving of building and used manufactured homes. The amendment updates obsolete language that previously required a registered building inspector and certificate of code compliance, which are no longer obtainable under current state law. In anticipation of the board's interim authorization to apply the proposed amendments, inspection and bonding provisions, the zoning administrator is issuing has issued a request for proposals to 4 qualified inspection agents. Those qualified inspection agents included Aaron Schuster, Tony Erdman, Gary Youngness, and Craig Colligan. Of those invited, 2 proposals were received from Aaron Schuster, Property Scouts Inspection LLC, and Craig Colligan, Quality Property Inspections LLC. After reviewing both proposals, Quality Property Inspections LLC appears to best meet the needs of the township for certified professional and timely inspection services in accordance with what will soon be the amended language for section 14.14C. Quality Property Inspections is a licensed Michigan firm owned and operated by a service disabled veteran holding national home inspector certifications and comprehensive general liability and professional liability insurance coverage. The firm comes highly recommended from Danielle Manchester of J. McLeod Realty and Alan Green of Farm Bureau Insurance, both of whom have directly attested to the company's professionalism, responsiveness, and quality of service. He provides same-day digital reporting, minimizing delays in permit issuance and ensuring property owners can proceed while maintaining compliance. This aligns with the administrative implementation of the ordinance amendment for section 14.14C and the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act authorization for cost recovered professional services. This ensures that all relocated buildings and used manufactured homes entering the township are inspected for structural integrity, safety hazards, and compliance with applicable ordinance. To ensure consistent and qualified implementation of the inspection requirements under section 14.14C, I am respectfully requesting that the Township Board approve Quality Property Inspections LLC as the township's designated inspection agency to conduct all of our third-party property inspections required under our ordinance. All professional and administrative costs associated will be paid by the applicant through escrow deposits held by the township treasurer, consistent with our township policies. Performance guarantees or cash bonds may be required for deficiencies noted in the inspection report as are acknowledged in the ordinance. Any questions on your inspection service?
So the other inspection service, why did you feel it wasn't?
So, we received 2 proposals. Only one of the 2 came highly recommended from other professionals in our community that have firsthand experience. And only one of the 2 sent a copy of their liability insurance, although that was requested within the proposal. Right.
So we would basically be hiring them as our inspector for the township, for this type of issue.
We would be utilizing them for this service when we require inspections based on our ordinance, such as used manufactured homes or other used structures that property owner might want to move into the township and have placed on their property. We would be retaining the service, but the funds that would pay for that service would come through the escrow account. So in essence, the property owner would be paying for the service.
Okay, and this is the fee schedule.
There is a fee schedule associated to both companies. They were relatively similar in nature, ranging, I think the one was $400 and the other one was $450. But whichever you decide, if you want to choose the other company based on the information before you, you certainly have the ability to do so.
So this will be based on the amendment, basically the final inspector.
That's correct.
Okay,
Because the amended language would specifically speak to qualified inspector approved by the township.
okay, any other questions? Thank you.
I think the next thing on your agenda is time. All right,
It is on tab 8.
It's here someplace.
yep, tab 8. On August 18th, 2025, the Township Board approved the use of a quarrying special land use permit application checklist and authorized the zoning administrator to initiate technical reviews for mining and soil removal applications with all professional costs paid by the applicant through an escrow account. Following consultation with Wade Trim, requests for proposals were issued to 4 qualified environmental and geotechnical engineering firms. The 4 firms that Wade Trim suggested, which was the supervisor's suggestion that we reach out to Wade Trim. He suggested AKT Peerless, ASTI Environmental, DCT, and the PEA Group. Of those that were invited, only ASTI Environmental responded to our request for proposals, submitting a detailed proposal to perform this third-party technical review for the township. ASTI Environmental's expertise includes environmental permitting, hydrological analysis, and mining reclamation planning, all critical to the technical review requirements under section 5.03 of our ordinance and Article 17 related to site plan review for the Millington Township ordinance. These sections authorize the township to engage professional planners, engineers, or consultants to ensure compliance with zoning, operational, and environmental standards with costs recoverable through applicable funded escrow accounts. My request to establish consistent procedures for all current and future quarrying or extraction applications would be to have the township board approve ASTI Environmental as Millington Township's designated consultant to conduct these third-party technical reviews related to any quarrying, mining, or soil removal applications requiring township review under section 5.03 and Article 17. All professional service costs would continue to be paid by applicants through escrow deposits held by the township treasurer in accordance with the zoning ordinance. Any question?
So would this require amendment to the zoning ordinance?
It does not. The zoning ordinance already allows for the township to secure a third party for technical review.
How about if somebody's already got a special land use permit
This would be applicable when those permits come in for renewal.
for renewal?
Mhm.
Because the reason why I asked was I got looking at the I think it's 503. On page 10. And this is why I asked. Number 4 says after expiration of an initial permit period, the planning commission may renew the permit for such additional time as may be necessary in the event the removal of material to extend indicated in the approval operation plan is not complete. The process for extension shall be the same as outlined for the review and authorization of the initial special use permit. If that
Can you
wasn't
tell me
a
what it is that you're reading?
Number
yeah,
4,
page 10,
number 4 on page 10.
G number 4.
Okay, thank you.
I guess what I'm saying, if that wasn't in the initial special land use permit, can you still apply it to it? Because that's what it says. The process for extension shall be the same as outlined for the review authorization of the initial special use permit.
But this is the process that's outlined already in our ordinance. We're not changing anything about the
It
ordinance.
is something,
I'm talking about the ordinance at the time, because it goes back to the initial special use permit.
So we've had this conversation because we've had a lot of conversations relative to mining operations. And this has already been clarified with the attorney that when something is renewed, that is applicable to the current ordinance.
But that's not what that says.
I can reread it. I just learned from you what you were reading.
Okay,
but they should have had those turned in with the first time because,
if
It's-
it's
it's-
applicable.
but it says in the initial, when you go back to quarrying.
I'm gonna go back to
Section-
5.
Yeah. But even then, he was supposed to
I'm-
turn in reclamation plans, site plans, the different
When I'm looking at
soils.
This new inspection basically, or
This isn't the new inspection. So this is something that, and this is where I think feel like we're saying the same thing. The process for extension shall be the same as outlined for the review and authorization of the initial special use permit. Unless it's a lawful pre-existing condition, which these aren't, then it would be subject to the review and authorization that's always been in place, and what's in place allows for a technical review. The fact that the township hasn't engaged a third party to conduct that technical review, or from what I can tell, ever conducted that technical review at all, doesn't mean that the process isn't in existence. The process is already there.
so what's this review gonna give us?
Well, it's
That
gonna
he's
let
doing
us,
everything properly?
it's gonna let us know whether or not it meets the criteria of the ordinance. The ordinance is quite extensive relative to mining operations. And as I explained in the last meeting, I'm not qualified to let you know whether or not what I receive meets this. This is very detailed information. I don't know whether or not it's met that. So that would be the reason for obtaining a third party that is qualified and experienced in that information.
So I noticed the cost was $15,500. And then plus time and material
Time and material for what?
for additional. I read that someplace. I think what you sent us.
It was in the proposal.
Yeah, it was in the proposal.
Well, that's the cost of doing business. If the reviews are required and it's required to be paid by an escrow, that's just the cost of doing business as the person.
But what I'm saying is, if it's $15,500 initial cost plus time and material, you're talking probably maybe 18-20,000.
Maybe, but that's the cost of doing business.
Hey,
Robert, I didn't draft this language in 503.
I didn't say you did.
I
I'm just
didn't
trying to make sense
put
of it.
this criteria in place, but at some point in time, the township wanted this criteria to be met. And I can't tell if it's ever been met because we've never had it reviewed. So if it is the township board's intent to make sure that the language that's in the ordinance is being met, then the only way that I can come up with to meet that requirement is to have a qualified and conduct that technical review.
Okay,
And this is basically during the application process of the special use permit.
During applications and reviews.
And
Which is outlined in our ordinances.
All of that is, all of that is already outlined in our ordinance.
Can you think of any unintended consequences that could come?
like a lawsuit.
Well, it's following all of these, the requirements and doing all this, the inspection is just.
Something saying he, but I'm not thinking of anyone.
Anybody, anybody,
This is across the board. That's why I'm asking.
Somebody that, if there's a requirement for an inspection and it's paid by escrow. And that was in the original ordinances. And the ordinances that require these. Technical reviews, when they did that. That is a part of the process.
I mean, I am relatively new to this position, so I don't know what the township has done in the past. I haven't found any evidence of a technical review, but perhaps I'm mistaken. So, like, those that have been here longer than me, how have you determined if the language of your ordinance is being met?
You'd have to talk to the planning commission because I never got involved in this.
But the township should be overseeing that that the ordinances are being met.
Okay,
Could I ask a question? Or no?
you get a second comment.
There'll be a second public comment.
Okay, number 9, park budget. I need some money. Our total budget is $20,000. Our insurance policy we just got is $6,750. That's 33.75% of our total budget. We pay lawn care $1,350 a month. We pay caretaker $1,000 a month, and that's only for 5 months. This year we had to buy wood chips at $2,200. We had to work on the bathrooms, septic service. And we've also got Detroit Edison, TDS, plus supply and parts. I just put $300 in the zip line. I thought we was safe. Our last meeting, our treasurer's report, we had $9,214. She contacted me Friday morning. She says, we got a problem. I said, what's that? She says, we just got a bill for $2,700 for the lawn care and caretaker job. I said, did you put in for the additional, the finish the new security system? We just put $4,000 in the security system. We got another $1,130 to finish that. The culverts at the soccer field are rusted out. We need to replace them. We're gonna dig that ditch deeper. Luckily, Rick Sherman offered, it was $5,500 total. Rick Sherman offered to pay $3,500. We offered to pay $2,000. Basically, what I'm asking for is I need $4,000. And we need to sit down with the village and work out something. Or else it's not sustainable. Any questions?
How many years, you've been getting 20,000 for quite a few years, right?
Yeah, probably 10 years, I'm guessing, and before that was less.
Yeah.
We get 14 now from the township and we get 6 from the village.
Okay, and
And we did, some of the council members did ask the village for more money and it wasn't available. So I guess we either gotta up, because all of our expenses keep going up.
Yeah,
I
right,
mean, our insurance alone this year went up $550.
well, that's what I'm saying, you had the same budget for a lot of years.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 10 years. I don't know that for certain.
But it's,
I'm just guessing 10 years.
yeah, probably since Arvilla left,
Yep,
I don't know.
I would say probably right around that time.
Okay,
That's a long time to keep the same budget, especially if it's.
Well, all of our costs keeps going up and, but anyways, that's a dilemma. We gotta pay our insurance by end of the month. $4,000 will, I think, do it for good.
would we need to do that as a budget amendment?
Mhm.
Okay.
You know, I hate doing this. I hate to ask people for money, but at this point, we don't have a choice. Cause we gotta have insurance.
Right. And you have improved and done a lot, the zip line and.
Yeah, and matter of fact, we're working with the Lions Club right now to put 2 pickleball courts in. Now that money all be through, grants and stuff and
Okay.
donated money. But that's, our latest, project.
and that kind of thing is what brings people to town.
Mhm. And we got 27 holes of disc golf and there's always somebody out there playing and we have, tournaments and stuff. You know, all of our playground equipment is up to date. All of our buildings are in good shape. We got 2 new bathrooms. We got all new roofs on the garage and all the pavilions. I mean, we've been doing a lot, but we're at a dilemma.
Right.
Do we have 4,000 in the budget? That we can allot for that? In the,
In the general fund?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You have to take it out of the contingency
yeah.
okay,
fund.
Yeah, we've got the money. I gotta ask.
yeah,
So that's where we're at. Well, being on rails and trails, you know what it's like. I mean,
oh, yeah,
your expenses and stuff and,
grants that don't come
your
through.
donations all stay the same.
You guys still have the same fiscal year. When does your fiscal year start?
It starts April 1st.
Okay,
Yeah.
same as.
Yep, same as us.
Just the lawn care, does that include snow removal or is that not?
No, we don't
permanent?
do snow removal, but Ruben does, all we normally close the park. Say middle of November, depending on the weather. But Ruben does plow it out for the Boy Scouts, cause the Boy Scouts got a building back there.
Mhm.
So that's what that's all about. So anyway, that's my spiel. Zoning administrators report.
So in addition to the things that I've already spoke to today, you do have a copy of the updated zoning permits and a copy of the updated links that we want to use. I would add, because it came to my attention after I sat back down, but Mr. Loomis made the comment that adding inspections could in fact subject us to additional lawsuits, and I would make the counter argument that having a third party that is qualified in making those inspections, either for used manufactured homes or other outbuildings, as well as for mining operations, reduces the subjectivity of those permit approvals, and therefore would make us less liable for litigation.
Very true.
These zoning permits are good for 1 year, correct?
1 year unless they commenced on the work.
Yeah, but I mean, if you don't use them within a year, then you gotta
We
reapply.
haven't done anything within a year, then you are.
Okay. Any questions for the zoning administrator? Okay, old business number 9. I was asked to contact Gordon Love about this discrimination, anti-harassment policy and complaint procedure. This is what he sent me. I didn't know if it was good with everybody. I know the names gotta be changed or the county and all that stuff, but
Definitely thorough.
yeah, there's a lot there.
What would we replace human resources director with? That was not me, so.
Clerk.
There were several things I wondered what we would, who to report to and
Right.
the same was what you're saying.
You're done with right here on number.
Yeah, there's multiple places.
Yeah,
It says county
yeah.
employees should talk to their department head for directors, human resources, or the county administrator.
I would say the first one be the immediate supervisor, but that's only my opinion. I guess you can make it anybody you want.
Well, I guess basically we would have to just go over the complete procedure, their immediate supervisor, and then. I mean,
There's gotta be more than one.
right,
If. So you're saying the immediate supervisor would be the.
How about the supervisor and the clerk? You think?
I do, because I can't
Okay.
really see going to,
No, that's fine. I just threw it out there.
so.
So the county, what does it mean by the county administrator? Is there like a county?
Well, this a policy was written for a.
For a county
We're just gonna
Okay.
take it and. use
and fit it in with that, if it's possible. I don't know how much you looked at it, but
It covers.
I know it's pretty thorough.
This is a
And where it
lot.
says Emmett County, you say Millington Township,
Mhm.
Human Resource Director.
Do we have a union representative?
No.
I'm joking. So basically, the first thing, 3.8 complaint procedure. A would be supervisor, B would be clerk. Or vice versa.
Well, both of them,
Okay.
you think? I guess, I
So
don't,
we'd only have the two?
your immediate supervisor, well, you'd be the immediate supervisor for
Okay,
the Sextons and
So,
Jackie.
so you're saying the immediate supervisor
would be, so,
of the person? So like if it was somebody from the
I only have.
Or cemetery.
cemetery, if somebody from the cemetery, they would go to you?
Yep.
So you'd be the immediate
There
supervisor?
has to be a change, so like I can't be the end all, like,
No. So the immediate supervisor, and then it would go to, I believe, then the supervisor, township supervisor. But it depends on who,
Now, could you have like a group of people, let's say 2 people that would meet? To keep it fair?
yeah, would.
That's what I was saying, maybe like a supervisor or clerk or supervisor and treasurer or treasurer and clerk or.
We could do the supervisor and the clerk and then,
I think it's always nice to have more than one person.
yeah.
okay.
And then what about like enforcement? Um. Disciplinary actions and things like that. What would be the actions?
Right here, it says on page 3, it kind of is.
Including discharge, but we're not able to discharge each other. I mean, we would be able to discharge an employee, but as far as a board member, you can't discharge one another.
That's a whole new process.
So I guess that would be for the lawyer to say, there's gotta be other discrimination places for,
Yeah, I could bring that up to him, so because if you're elected official, what would be
right,
Seems like the lawyer would be able to tailor this a little better
yeah.
towards our township rather than this is obviously a very big group
yeah.
and we aren't.
Well, he just sent this to me, he said, see if this here will fit, and if it won't, then.
Yeah, so that's my concern is
elected
the
official.
disciplinary action. It's what we need it spelled out, what can be done.
tailor this general information to a township. Would would be what he needs to do.
Yeah, I got a email Gordon anyway, so I'll email him this and. Any other changes or? Or don't you like this at all? I mean,
No, I think it's good, covers a lot,
yeah,
just it
there's
has
a
to
lot
be
there.
entailed more to us. Or
Tailored.
tailored more to us.
It's like just a lot of lawyer talk to me.
Is there any other questions or comments or?
Well, if you can get it and get it done and then send it to us, maybe we can approve it next month, would be
Okay,
great.
nope, I would definitely do that.
Yes,
Try to do that.
yeah, okay.
Number 10, appointment of planning commission member to the zoning board of appeals. I know Matt resigned. And did you guys agree on Doyle or not, or?
We didn't take any
I mean,
action
what's your,
because
what's your
Alvin had-
recommendation?
Alvin had volunteered. And then they talked to maybe Doyle, and then we found out that action wasn't proper. So we left it up to this board.
Well, I thought a recommendation from you guys would be nice because. It was unnecessary.
I don't see it under action items, but I think the board has to officially accept this resignation. Just going it up.
Yeah, it's in the ordinance. It says you have to accept it, and in the packet here is from the Zoning Enabling Act, the second sentence says that the zoning board, the zoning board. Got the wrong, it says anyway that it's appointed by the governing body, and that's us.
Okay,
It's page 55 in our ordinance. So the planning commission just didn't take any action because it says it's appointed by the township board. We had quite a bit of other stuff on our plate. All right, last week.
so do we want to appoint somebody or we just want to accept his resignation,
Well, we need to accept his resignation and then we can
Yeah.
appoint something as someone as well.
I guess?
Yeah, we have to
Sent
have,
us the letter, we
Yep.
just received the letter.
so
So any other questions on that appointment of planning commission member? Number 11, potential charges against the planning commission members for malfeasance, misfeasance, malfeasance, and non-feasance in office.
This outline sets forth potential charges against members of the Millington Township Planning Commission for misfeasance, malfeasance, and non-feasance in office. It is intended for board discussion and legal review and does not constitute a formal charging instrument. This document is based on township records, meeting minutes, appeal decisions, and attorney correspondence from 2016 through 2025. I've included the definitions. Misfeasance is performing a lawful duty in an improper way. For example, failing to follow required procedures or legal guidance when carrying out official responsibilities. Malfeasance, committing an intentional or clearly wrongful act outside the scope of lawful authority. For example, abusing power or knowingly violating the law or the ordinance. And finally, nonfeasance, failing to act when there is a legal duty to do so. For example, neglecting to enforce regulations or required procedural steps. Over nearly a decade, the Planning Commission's collective actions reveal a sustained and troubling pattern of disregard requiring procedures, ordinance standards, and
Tammy?
legal guidance.
I don't know if we should, my opinion is, I don't know if we should go over this.
I wasn't gonna read the whole document.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Because
I can do as much as there is little, but I was just going to.
I
read-
just don't want to jeopardize, I know we got 4 lawsuits going on now and possibly more. I just don't want to jeopardize those. And I know
You did get legal correspondence from the attorneys saying that
basically they said to check
draft
with the,
impede those proceedings.
well, Jackie asked Heidi, talked to her on the phone, and Heidi said, well, sort of gave her the impression maybe you should postpone it. But
She
she was
talked to
gonna,
Heidi.
I think it was-
Friday,
I think it was Jim that.
no, she talked to Heidi too.
I talked to Jackie today and she said she hadn't gotten any response from Heidi.
No, she talked to her Friday, she was on vacation, and she just gave her a verbal that gave her the impression like maybe it wasn't a good idea. But she says, I will email you or call you Monday, and she never did.
I work at the pleasure of the board, so I.
No,
will
I
do
just-
Whatever it is that you'd like.
Well,
I'm gonna sustain from this, so,
I,
because I don't wanna jeopardize the cases that's already out there.
I understand and I agree. I do want to point out, this isn't against any one person.
No,
This is just facts regarding conduct by planning commission. And it's not just, it's over 16 years or almost 20 years. So it's a lot of information. And just like Mr. Worth pointed out, we can't just pick on one person. And this clearly points out that the things that would be looked into are more than just
it's actually over the
Well,
past 10 years, so
the-
from
the-
2016 through 2025.
The bottom line is I believe we've already got a defamation of character lawsuit on us. I don't wanna see another one. So I'm gonna sustain from this. This
I
talk.
don't know what that means. When you say.
I don't wanna be,
sustain.
I don't wanna, and I don't wanna be involved in it.
So I think.
Well, you have,
Abstain from, abstain from it. So go ahead. I just don't think it's a good idea, but. You do
so
what you gotta do.
Well, I drafted this at the
No, that's fine.
request of the board, so do you want me to continue?
So what my thoughts are, okay, we have these things that we've been concerned of. We have so much from our citizens that have been brought up that are concerning. And we have two of them just tonight that are brought to us that are concerning. Somehow we have to get this all out in the open for everyone to talk. I loved Mr. Zavitt's idea that we all get together and, you know, by going forward with the problems that we're seeing in formal complaints that we're getting, it's a way of, if there's a hearing where all of us can talk together. The people can tell us, hey, this is why we did it. This is what we thought you wanted. We can become transparent. The people can be there and they can put their input. So many times we've had public comment and it's never discussed. We're just as at fault as the planning commission. We have things come up from every month for the last how many years. Hey, I'm thinking about this. We're not comfortable with this as the community. And it's like we can never actually just talk about it. And that's what I would love to see, the information from this be able to be talked about and meet with the planning commission, meeting with the ZBOA, have,
and meet with the lawyer.
and the lawyer, and have, Laura, you were looking into
Some training.
training to get to be able to communicate. We need to take care of these issues and maybe satisfy the people that are doing the lawsuits, that they feel listened to. They feel that the concerns have been taken care of and that the decisions that are being made are with everybody's concern.
I have a question. If Mr. Zavitz came to Robert and suggested that, why didn't anyone else hear about that?
What's that?
He stood up and said that it came to you and suggested that we try to get the boards and the lawyer together.
Well, I thought he was working on training,
I
mean, that was part of
That's
it.
immediate. He was gonna meet with us, but that's.
but he was gonna
something
also
complete-
meet with the planning commission and the
You
ZBOA.
know, that's completely separate, but like, what he's suggesting is that we all get together and sit down with the attorneys, and I
I
think
thought that was the,
that's two different things. So,
Heidi, didn't we agree that with
yeah,
Heidi?
yes, we did, but that was.
But the board and also the planning commission, also ZBA,
But
ZBO.
that's still, it's still different than he's wanting to discuss everything that,
Well, wouldn't we be discussing it then?
no, that's more of how to deal with each other and.
Well, I think
communicate
he's talking about,
effectively.
I think he's talking about better communication amongst all of us. Am I correct on that?
I would like to have an attorney there so he can talk about conduct of township members on the planning commission, the ZBOA and the township board.
Yeah,
That's something
Questions
different.
be asked to the attorney and get what what are you supposed to do? Act, what is your job as a planning commissioner?
What's your
Job
responsibility?
as a township member? No.
Isn't
When
there,
someone brings you information, what do you do with this information? How do you act? Or do you have a disagreement with another board member? If you have a different disagreement with a township member on their opinion,
Okay,
what
so,
is your conduct?
well, I thought that's what the training was all about.
okay, so it was just a miscommunication. So what
Right.
I'm working with was a mediator who would sit down and help each of us communicate, because there's times I will hear you talk to Tammy and Tammy talk to you, and I can see what's going on, but I'm not really good at communicating. So the mediator would be like, here, this is what she's saying, try to help each other understand each other. But Elvin's,
But
I want more than that. I
Yeah.
want-
Yes, Elvin's request
Yep.
of the supervisor was very legitimate and very good, and that information should be shared with all of us so that we all know that you're willing to help and get past this, and we're willing to work with you, or at least have the opportunity to know that it's out there.
see, when Heidi was here in August, I understood that the whole township board, the planning commission, the ZBOA, and also the zoning administrator was gonna have a class together on how to communicate. That's not true.
No,
well, it was supposed to be our board
Our board.
specifically.
But did we talk about the planning commission and ZBOA to be involved in that? That's what I understood.
I don't believe so. That was just off.
that what the retreat in Frankenmuth that's coming up is for, in terms of what the role of the planning commission member and the role of the ZBOA, like it's a zoning retreat, isn't that the training that's coming up? I think later this month?
that will probably help, but we also have resources right here.
Have signed up for that.
I did.
I did the clerk's one.
I did the treasurer's one.
Do we
No,
know,
I was scheduled for a deposition that day, so I didn't.
do we know if our planning commission members have signed up for that?
I signed up.
You know if anyone else has?
Jackie's the one who makes, people usually contact Jackie to like.
I mean, I-
sign them up. I don't.
Well, we do have resources in this office. If everybody would take the time to read their little red book and look through what your job is, supervisor, da, 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 da. Trustee, da, 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 planning commission member, they're all listed in there. That would be a good review for us before we go. We need to acknowledge our mistakes. We need to get this out in the open. And we can't just shove it under the rug. It starts at the top with good communication all the way down and good communication back up. And that won't happen if we just try to hide it in a drawer or pretend it's not there. Don't talk about it. You made a mistake. One of the things we're doing is going through the ordinances to fix the mistakes of the past that have been on the books for a long time. Now that we realize there's an issue, you go in, you correct that ordinance wording, now you move forward. We need to establish public confidence again. We don't have any public confidence in our board, and these are steps we can take that can restore that public confidence, which is so important in getting our job done.
The zoning, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Robert.
I guess what I'm saying is, if we want better communication, we want to work together, this ain't a very good way of doing it.
I'm open to another suggestion. I think that's what I'm hearing from everyone here.
Well, I see that there's people that say, okay, there's been conflicts of interest. I've had someone tell me I have conflicts of interest, but the person doesn't say, you have conflict of interest, in my opinion, because this, and this, and I can't say what, I'm sorry, or I don't understand why they think I have a conflict of interest, because it's never explained. If we can all get together, And the other thing is interpretation. One person looks at his job and he says upon the discretion of the board. And the other person feels when it says upon the discretion of the board, that doesn't mean they have to follow the zoning ordinances. So we're all looking at things, we're looking at the same paperwork, but we're determining it as meaning different than what the other person. So how do we pull together and understand and correct and this is just all the issues that are seen as the community sees that they weren't done right. And
Some things are not subjective, and the things that are in your ordinance, that language is not subjective. You each have a conflict of interest policy that also is not subjective. Whether or not you have a conflict of interest is determined by that policy. When it comes to training opportunities, the zoning board of appeals put in their most recent edition of their constitution and bylaws required training. They don't allow you to serve on their board without going to trainings. And I don't remember exactly what the criteria is, but I'm hearing Alvin say, and I appreciate the sentiment that we want more training, but some of our people serving in these roles have been in these roles for many, many years. And how much training have they sought out? And I bring us back to the fact that there's a 2-day workshop in Frankenmuth later this month. I would love to know how many people signed up for that. I think that would speak very loudly in terms of how many people actually want additional training in order to resolve these issues.
And I agree with what the ZBA did. They get the training before they start. When I look back at all the stuff I did not know, did not have a clue when I started. And I was like 6 months in before I got any training. And the first training I took, I paid for myself and went to because I didn't even know at the time I could get them to pay for it. So getting that training starting earlier should be a good policy to get into place for all boards so that everybody starts out knowing something. What
How
you've put
would the board
together is
like
very
this?
important.
I
Pardon?
mean, you have it, it's there. Anyone else who wants to see a copy of it, it's a foilable document. It's not, as it was suggested during public comments earlier, it isn't specific to just Tri-County aggregate. It looks at actions of the planning commission over the last 10 years.
When was this, when was the 10 years added in? So I thought we were discussing the August 11th. Talking before the meeting, when we voted on this.
no, this was for all the activities of the planning commission to take to the lawyer to let him look over the past minutes, the past
When did we vote on
decisions.
that?
When we asked to take
August, I think.
August, when we take those things to the lawyer to
It was
review,
August 18th.
to review.
I just think it's a bad direction to go.
At its August 18th meeting, the township board authorized the preparation of written charges against members of the planning commission. This authorization arose in significant part from the commission's actions regarding the Tri-County aggregate special land use or reclamation plan. On June 18th, the zoning board of appeals reversed both, and then it goes on to explain why that's in there. But no, on August 18th, you'd have to go back and read that actual motion. I thought I had it with me, but as it turns out, I don't have those minutes in my papers.
Yeah, I have with me.
So Robert, what do you suggest?
I suggest that we get together with an attorney and see if we can't work this out. I think attorneys gotta mediate it.
What are we gonna do about these two things right here that have been?
I haven't even really looked at those, but yeah, we gotta do something about those too.
So these,
The one that Emery turned in, I'm gonna send that to Gordon, because Gordon says, once you get some, give it, send it.
these are all formal complaints.
Right,
And we can't just say, no, Mr. Lay gave us formal complaint and that was never dealt with. And that's wrong.
oh, I agree.
So how are we gonna deal with these?
I'm not sure how your attorney is going to mediate. This is the process that's in place for resolving this issue.
Well, who's gonna mediate it?
I don't think you can mediate this. You're not trying to come up with a compromise. That's not,
So you're just
trying to
gonna,
resolve it through a compromise.
there's no way to resolve it other than remove him from office.
I think you either have to remove them from office or have some level of commitment to do better. I don't know that we have that level of commitment, which is why I asked how many had signed up for the training. Just
so far,
Monday
one.
night, we had an Open Meetings Act violation following Monday night's meeting. And we've been having these conversations for a really long time. I think there's a total difference between an individual who makes an honest mistake and looks to correct their mistake, and individuals who perpetuate that same mistake 54 more times. I don't think that's something you can mediate.
Yes, this is,
So we're talking about getting along, we're talking about, working together, but yet we're gonna remove you from office.
this isn't removing them from
I
office.
think Sharon
This is
asked you
called-
for your suggestion.
This is called communication. We say these are the things that we feel are not appropriate.
These are
That-
things that she found in minutes and other meetings that are not appropriate.
These
These
are-
happen.
These happened, so then you have a public hearing. The public hearing gives Mr. Zavitz or whoever, we don't even know who these charges will be
Legal
against.
representative.
That gives them a chance to say, okay, just like Mr. Zavitz said, we did this because you as a board did this, and you directed us to do this. So we're laying it out. He's been able to tell, if we have this
Explain
public
himself.
hearing, he's explaining why they're doing these actions. And if we're at fault by directing them the wrong way and putting them, then we need to correct our actions. This public hearing would be the way, this is the only way to get all of the information out and together. And that doesn't mean any of these, we are the ones that actually end up voting if they stay, if they go or whatever, but we can't do that without
A public hearing.
public hearing, and I'm not comfortable doing that unless I know where they're at, what they're doing, why did they do this? And that's where we're missing that, we have this missing link of communication.
We need to take action to make the corrections. We can't just say, oh, I don't want to deal with it. We have to deal with it.
So. If you want to just kind of flip to the end. Roman numeral number 5 on page 11. It explains that your zoning ordinance in section 1601 authorizes removal of planning commission members for misfeasance, malfeasance, or nonfeasance upon written charges and after a public hearing. The Michigan Planning Enabling Act provides a statutory foundation for this local authority. This document is intended to serve as a structured outline to assist the township board and its legal counsel in evaluating whether to proceed with formal written charges and a public hearing pursuant to the township ordinance and state law. You're several steps away from that, which is why I want to make this point. Your next steps would be to identify the responsible planning commission members for each count based on meeting attendance, motions, seconds, votes, and other relevant records. That hasn't been done yet. To compile supporting exhibits, including but not limited to the minutes, the legal correspondence, the applications, the permits, the notices, and the recordings. That hasn't been compiled yet. Draft formal written charges consistent with Millington Township zoning ordinance section 1601 and the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act. And then prepare for public hearings before the township board in accordance with due process requirements, including written notice of charges, access to the evidentiary record, and the opportunity to be heard. It could very well be that completing steps 1 and completing steps 2, which you instructed me to work with our attorney. So this isn't just, whatever I wanted to put on paper and bring to you tonight. This has all been reviewed by our attorney. So I haven't done next steps 1 and 2. That would be the next step. Should you decide that you want me to proceed, I would do steps 1 and step 2, and then again, submit that to the attorney. The attorney might look it over and say that these don't constitute charges. And if that's his response, then that's where that ends, and you've done your due diligence of evaluating whether or not those constitute charges. If the attorney looks at the information compiled from steps 1 and step 2 and says, yes, in fact, this does constitute charges, then the next thing that I would bring to you would be a list of those individual members who are responsible for those failures. You do have a copy of Tim Marone's email dated October 10th. That should also be in your packet. And he has explained to you essentially what I'm saying right now in terms of next steps. It is correct that the charges, if any, must be preferred against individual members of the planning commission, each of whom would then have their own due process rights. So I would essentially go through all of the record, the public record, and bring you a list per member, of which you would then be responsible for reviewing and determining whether or not you wanted to pursue charges on that individual person. That would be after the attorney has had an opportunity to review and determine that those are eligible charges. Those would be the next steps, should you choose to go that route.
Any other questions?
I'm just afraid if you make a meeting with the attorney. And that's not the attorney's job to say who's right or who's wrong. We are going to butt heads and still go away not being informed. If you have an official hearing, then you're hearing every side of it. That's my opinion.
Okay,
I think we need to take the next step of sending this to the attorney and letting him decide what charges, if charges, and putting all that together to bring to this board. Because the public deserves to know that we are trying to make a difference. If we take no action, we're not making a difference. And we're all responsible to make sure it happens right, it happens legally. It may not be comfortable, but we need to do it.
I do agree with both of you, but I would still like to hear back from Heidi, especially with pending litigation. I don't want to move forward with anything else. I mean, if we push this off 1 month until we hear back from the attorney, I don't think that would break anything, but I mean, we clearly have we're going forward to try to fix the problem, but I want to hear from the attorney first to make sure that we have not, that it's not going to affect any pending litigation of anything. And then pending on what she says, move forward from there. And I still like the idea of, although respectfully, Sharon, I would like to see if we could try to talk.
Oh, I'm more for that. I'm for that as well.
Okay.
I'm not against that at all. Anything that we can get communication and the understanding of one another would be effective. I would hope.
Are there any more questions for me?
no,
I wanted to
Think so.
thank you for the.
Anybody?
Who made all these counts then? Who wrote all?
I drafted the document working with the attorney. So I pulled the records and I drafted the document and I sent it to Tim and I said, am I going in the right direction? Do I need to switch directions? And he guided me. This is not something that I have any experience doing before. So I relied heavily on Tim's guidance.
And
we all set with,
no, I just wanted to acknowledge Emery that what he has brought to us is involved. That's one of the main things in this. So we are going to be addressing that.
okay, any second comment, public comment? No, Elvin, you only allowed
You
one.
only get one?
That's what the rules say.
He's always allowed people to speak both names.
What do you mean?
What rule?
Hey,
what do you-
says it, it says it.
Wait, do we have, we need a minute?
How can you communicate 3 minutes? Come on.
It says public comment shall be limited to 3 minutes. Each speaker is only entitled to 1 3-minute time during each meeting. It may not be split the time or give the time to another speaker.
Well, that's very new to us because we've had many times where,
I'm just telling you what it says.
You didn't say that last month.
I just read it today.
Oh.
okay. So this with Robert Worth, is this an official?
Yeah, I would assume so. Official complaint. Go ahead, Dwight.
Like Giant 8812 Fulmer Road. Looking at item 8, the ASTI
inspection cost of $15,000, is that per year? Just to retain that
No, that's to complete the technical review on the mining operation.
on, so anytime there would be a mining operation, it would cost 15,000 plus time and material.
Anytime you would need to have the reclamation plan associated with that mining operation reviewed. So typically that happens every 10 years.
Okay. So that would be. If I would want to mine part of my property. that'd
Would you
an
be a
expense.
commercial mining operation or would you be doing something different?
Well, it could possibly,
It depends on the
Okay.
criteria of what you're
I
trying to
think
do.
it goes by so many yards, don't it? I'm not mistaken.
that was just, I was thinking if the township had to pay that 15,000. To retain this
No,
ex certified person, and then that would be spread out
Escrow account.
around any. Okay, so that answers. the question. Thank you.
Yourself,
Thanks, Dwight.
it's commercial, that's the deal.
Any other second public comment?
Doyle Fletcher, 9800 State Road. And let's start off a nasty stuff. We went to Alvin, having a conversation, and Alvin said, no, we're not gonna talk about it, and it's about the Dudley. Special use. Sharon. I can tell you exactly when you committed malfeasance. In February of this year. You voted on a motion to send a decision of the planning commission to the ZBA. You are her sister. That is a conflict of interest according to the MTA.
I disagree.
Well,
That's okay.
you can disagree if you want, but if you bothered to read the MTA book, you would
I
see
have.
in there that it not only says you cannot vote, you cannot discuss, you cannot deliberate, you cannot provide any information. And Luann has done it several times. I've been going back through the records. Now, if we're gonna start a fight, okay. But I think Robert's right. We need to sit down and we need to get this all out in the open and all straightened out. Because we did things that we were directed to do, and then you come along and said no. So enough is enough. These people are paying good tax money for us to take care of things, and it's not being done. We're spending our time up here arguing, accusing, redoing things. We have a chairman of the ZBA that violated his oath. He's written a letter against the gravel pit. He's spoken against the gravel pit. Yet he refused to recuse himself when a question on the gravel pit came up in front of him. And he should have. That was a definite conflict of interest, and he should have immediately, and it was brought up to his attention. And he said, no, I don't feel it is. Well, there should have been a vote of the board.
There was. It's on the meeting. There was a
It
vote.
is.
They voted that he did not have a conflict.
Right on. I can't believe that.
Well,
Well, I guess this is.
no, but you can watch the meeting. That's,
This is all a waste, and you're gonna just do whatever you want.
you know,
And you know who's gonna pay? Right here. All these people, they're gonna pay. We've got all kinds of lawsuits going against us because of things that were done wrong. And here's who's gonna pay the bill. Right here.
Twice. We pay it twice, both ends.
Yep.
Thanks, Doyle. Any other second public comment? Okay,
I have a comment.
okay, go ahead.
Dan Davenport, 3170 Kimberly. I was on student council in high school. Then we had a thing called Robert's Rules and Regulations that we had to follow. And I deeply
deeply am concerned. And I don't think somebody, even if they read them, that they comprehend what they are. Majority of these problems are right by the direction of misleadership. Not proper follow through, not following the rules and regulations or the ordinances. Ordinance has been in place that the good old boy practice sometimes has been established. Some new people come on here, they look for leadership. They're getting blindsided. Who are they getting blindsided by? But they're listening to the wisdom of what? People have been on a council, on a township, try to give directions and directives, and they just get slapped up. Not respected, interrupted, contradicted. What a fine leader. Mighty fine. A lot of this stuff is heading for courtrooms because of improper leadership and negligence. And maybe, I hate to say the word, but I'm going to throw it out there, stupidity. Stuff I see on here never happened in high school. Politeness, rudeness, arrogance, total disrespect and negligence of taxpayers that pays thousands of dollars on property. Don't even have their words say. You had a signature, you had a paper with 103 signatures from Murphy Lake. Just for example, on STRs. And what'd you do with that paper? Have you got that with you?
I never received it to begin with.
Yes, you did.
No, I
It's
didn't.
on, we got it on camera. You got it on
Go
paper.
ahead.
So there you go again, Bob. You're gonna deny. Oh, I just went right over your head, didn't I? Maybe I'll take notes. Or start watching the film. Because a lot of this rides on one person's shoulders. One person. Supposed to be leadership. You got good board members here on different committees that have been misinformed, misdirected. I'd like to know how much money we spent for attorneys to get opinions, Bob. I'd like to have that information. I'd like to also have how many times you've called them in the last 3 years. That ought to be township records. That ought to be a phone log. And how much money is it? And how much an hour? Because we're all the ones that are paying all this money out. It's because of one thing and one person. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other second public comment? Okay, action items. PA 116 parcel. I'm not so sure we can do anything with that, but it's
No,
open for discussion.
I'm not comfortable doing that.
Okay, the Lions Club.
I move that we table the decision on the PA 116 parcel 017-031-000-2800-03 until we can get more information from the landowner.
I'll support that. You've heard the motion and it's been seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passed. Number 2, Lions Club Fire Hall use. Halloween, October 31st.
I make a motion that we allow the Lions Club to use the fire hall for 10/31/25.
Second. You've heard the motion, been seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passed. Number 3, interim administrative implementation of section 14.14 C.
I make a motion that we do not implement the intern administrative implementation of section 14.14 until it is changed in the ordinances.
I'll support that. You've heard the motion, it's been supported. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passed. The approval of a qualified inspector for inspection agencies.
That was under,
I don't remember the name of the place.
Quality inspection,
Quality.
quality property inspections, that one? That's we're on.
I move that Millington Township Board approve Quality Property Inspections LLC as a township's qualified inspection agency to conduct third-party inspections required under section 14.14 of the zoning ordinance, with all related professional costs to be paid by the applicant through an escrow account or performance guarantee as provided in township policy.
Support, it should be 14.14C though.
Let's see.
Yeah,
Okay,
support.
with that correction.
You've heard the motion, been seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passed. I don't think we need a roll call for that, do we? Because
It's not our money.
talking money, yeah, it's somebody else's money. Okay. Number 5, ASTI Environmental as Township Technical Review Consultant on Quarry and Operations.
She caught up down there.
Yeah, she's still writing.
It's okay, I'll end up, I started the things, I'm writing the topic, the first and the second, and then I'm starting with the verbiage.
I move the Millington Township Board approve ASTI Environmental as the township's qualifying consultant for conducting third-party I can't read it. Technical reviews associated with quarrying, mining, and soil remover operations, with all related professional costs reimbursed to the township through the applicant's escrow account pursuant to section 17.023 of the zoning ordinance.
Support,
You've heard the motion, been seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, aye. Motion passed. Number 6,
We need to accept the resignation before we appoint a new person. We don't have that on there,
okay,
so you.
I-
not on there, but
I move that we accept the resignation letter from,
Can we, we have to do that beforehand.
Matt,
yeah,
Sorry, okay, just throws off my number.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay.
from Matt up.
from Matt Upperman, effective today.
Okay.
I'll support that. You've heard the motion, been seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passed. Number 6, appointment of planning commission member to zoning board of appeals.
I make a motion to appoint Alvin Zavitz to be the planning commission representative on the zoning board of appeals.
Should we ask him if he accepts or?
He mentioned at the meeting
Okay.
that he was in, he would
I'll
do it.
support that. There's been a motion to appoint Elvin Zavitz to the zoning board of appeals from the planning commission. It's been seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passed.
Laura?
Yeah, I was not. You're very guest. Was anyone else interested in that position?
Doyle said he wanted.
Doyle?
Yeah, Doyle. Doyle said he wanted.
That was what was agreed to at the planning commission.
I just feel Alvin's got a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience and would be very, very good at the, as a representative on the ZBOA.
I think we already voted on it, didn't
Yeah.
It's over.
we? Number 7, potential charges against the planning commission members for misfeasance, malfeasance, and non-feasance in office.
I make a motion to table the charges against the planning commission members for misfeasance, malfeasance, and nonfeasance in the office. Table that.
I'll support that. You've heard the motion, been
Timeframe.
supported. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passed. Park board or park budget. I'm asking for 4,000. Well, that's what I gotta have.
Is that gonna get you? April?
Hope so. That's what we're figuring on anyways.
You gotta have. What? Coming out of.
It's out of the contingency fund.
I'll make the motion that we give the park board $4,000 on the contingency fund.
I'll support that. You've heard the motion, been supported. Is there any further discussion? If not, Laura, we need a roll call, please.
Okay, Jarzell,
Yes,
Kyman,
Yes,
Cook,
Yes.
Cameron, yes, and Loomis.
Yes, motion passed. Okay. Supervisors report. I did check on the Millman Road brine. Years ago, it was taken off the rolls. It was put back on and it was done the following day.
I saw that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was done.
I called her and she says, well, that's been taken off a long time ago. And I said, can we put it back on? Cause I said, we improved that road. She said, yeah, no problem.
Okay,
So we'll be
Thank-
out tomorrow to take care of it.
thanks for checking on that.
Been checking the roads for the extra. Okay, did we, now that I'm talking about that, did we agree to do the extra road?
It's not on the
We did not do an action.
action item.
Yeah, I probably should do that, huh?
So which, do they have the roads and the cost? Usually they have like a breakdown of the roads.
Well, what you do is you put it in there and tell them you want an estimate,
Okay,
then they send it back to you.
okay.
But I want something to say, hey, this is a road that I want, looking at
Okay.
motion. So I'll make a motion for next year. We do Fulmer Road from Barnes to village limits, that'd be a half-mile road. And from Barnes, Vassar to Millman, where they're redoing the bridges, that's 0.76 miles. I'll put that in for an estimate and it'll be a while before they get back with me, but those are roads we do.
So was that a motion?
Yeah, that was a motion. I thought, didn't I say that? Maybe I got a little ahead of myself. But that was my motion was to next year do Fulmer Road from Barnes to the village limits and Barnes Road from Vassar to Millman.
Support.
You've heard the motion, been supported. Is there any further discussion? If not, Laura, we can, all those in favor say aye.
I,
Those opposed, motion passed. We're not dealing with money yet, so
So estimate.
I'll get with I gotta fill out some paperwork for the road commission. I'll take care of that. Finishing up with some combination splits, contacting people, say, hey, I need this before the end of the year and stuff. Been working on a lot of that, so. It just seemed like the month went by too fast, but. Of course, every year goes by too fast, seems like. That's all I've got.
I went to a treasurer's meeting in Frankenmuth and it was very informative. I learned a lot and yeah, it was a very good learning experience.
We had a fire board meeting too, the other.
Oh, that's right. We had. Yeah, is there anything,
Yeah, really.
nothing spectacular. Everything's going well. Everything's working well
they've just been very busy, huh?
and have a lot of car accidents. So please be careful on the intersections.
How come so many on 15 and Birch Run Road? I mean, there's lights there and there's extra signage.
People aren't
Pay
paying
attention.
attention. Yeah.
Luann, did you? Go ahead.
I was just
Go
gonna say, I
ahead.
went to the clerk's training and that was a 2-day 2 full days. There was a lot of information gleaned from that one.
And the bike trail, we've got an issue with one of our crossings. It's not wide enough. And the people are working on that, offering suggestions. So the bike board's gonna have to deal with that. See about moving some poles to make it wider. Ambulances can't get through. More people live back there now, so you can't get 2 cars past each other, that kind of issue.
Did we have a report on MSU?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
We'll end on a happy note. Millington is a great place. This, through Michigan State Extension, the village had asked these people to come, and we didn't know when or where, to evaluate Millington. There's 5 different people came. One was from the UP, one was from up near the bridge. The other 2 were down around and then Lansing. And they came individually. One of them brought family members with them to see that if I were a tourist coming through Millington, would I stop? What would I see? So they listed the things that they noticed upon entering town. They even did before I get there and check our website. And they had suggestions for, the website is pretty good for Millington Town, but here's some suggestions that will help, that kind of thing. Overall, we rated very well, and the same things kept coming up. The top reasons that they might visit Millington were to visit family, relax, or they're just going through to somewhere else. Agritourism was mentioned, the shopping with the antiques, to visit the historical sites, outdoor recreation, and school events, and the RC track, the new business there, all rated very high as why these people would come back. We ranked well, very well, in friendliness and hospitality, cleanliness and community involvement, and our road conditions. Hey, it pays off. These are things that they rate everywhere they go on. The things that we were known for on our website was the cinnamon rolls, the LC track, live music, the Millington Artsville Historical Society, the quality of our antique shops, and the Southern Link Railway. One of them listed, like when they were coming into town, their first impression. One of them approached the village from the south and mentioned the beautiful old homes. McPherson's restaurant let them know they finally were in town. The older buildings showed me that there's several stores they could check out. They noticed no big chain stores, abundant parking, but having people already parked on the street made them feel welcome and warm, that other people liked it. But it wasn't exciting enough if I were to make me stop here if I were headed somewhere else. The folks that came in, one guy came in and got rained out. He came back and brought his bike because he had seen the bike signs. He said, I found the community have some eyesores, yet at the same time, I have a lot of opportunity for placemaking and community improvement. I'm happy to see the cardinal theme, red theme throughout the town, and the welcoming storefronts have healthy appearances. So the ones that were open were good ones. The fella that came in, the person that came in from the west, noticed the farmland giving way to a more traditional neighborhood. They noted all yards approaching Millington were well groomed, a welcoming and community focused feeling is what they gave them. They appreciated the speed sign at the village limits being 25, so they didn't get a ticket. And they noticed the cemetery, and at first they thought maybe a little strange, and then they thought, no, these are the people, the ancestors of the people that were here, and that was a good thing. The one coming from the north noticed the well-maintained exterior of the flower shop. The curly cone caught their eye because of a nostalgic, homey charm that it had. So those are the kind of things that really made us stand out well. Some of the challenges, drivers don't yield at crosswalks was number 1. Missing crosswalks in key areas like Depot Street in front of Worth's Market, and some of the sidewalks were uneven and not connected. You know, there's missing spots. And they thought that some businesses needed better signage. But Parking charges were reasonable. Yeah, we don't have any. Parking is centrally located, parking is secure. They appreciated the landscape grounds and shrubs, although they did mention downtown could do a little more of that to make it a little better feel. They thought the bike signs need to be bigger so they're easier to see. We were ranked a little bit low because we don't have any variety of accommodations, no motels. Um, somebody stayed at one over in Columbiaville. Others were in Birch Run. Did you feel welcomed in the community at all times? Talking to the vendors at the live music festival was made it welcoming. They hit us at a good time. The quilt store had her crop hop shopping thing. They came with one of them or two of them came with our music. The women at the historical museum were warm and helpful. Everyone we encountered was a delight, and the fellas at RC Track were fun to talk to and made me want to return. They noted highlights, the strong attendance in all of those different places. Our strengths are community pride and infrastructure, the railway, Latham Park Disc Golf, strong local pride in the schools and businesses. The library supports our community programming, clean, safe, and welcoming environment. They said we're strategically placed near Flint, Saginaw, and Detroit, Birch Run, and Frankenmuth, and we should capitalize on those and develop some kind of a vacation, 3-day vacation plan. Hey, if you're going to Frankenmuth and you need a break, come to Millington and relax, sort of a combo package. They also mentioned we've got the rolling hills of Michigan out there, the state land for hiking and mountain biking spots. We need to pull that in more. So those are some of the ways the township can work with the village to increase the whole area. Visitor itineraries, combining the trails and the town. So overall, we rated, if I remember right, they said we rated 5 out of 5, and they don't remember that being that good for a town in recent years. So one thing they suggested was keep building on our red, and they said the eyesore of the mill, which is probably historical, they noted, and do something to leverage that. Maybe paint a mural on it so it doesn't look rusty and worn down and still pulls in the history of the town. So none of these have to be done. These are all suggestions for the future. And then maybe adding interpretive signage to tell stories of our historical roots around the town. But they said our village logo is very good and appealing. And then the last comment with a smile, what about painting the town red? So points of interest that got stars. I'll list those in my wrap up here. This postcard cabins where somebody stayed and I'd never even heard of it, but I looked them up because they mentioned it. So Southern Links Trailway, Millington Arbela Historical Society, Murphy Lake State Trail and State Game Area, Antiques in the Village, McDaniel Farms, Mike's Antiques, Limitless RC, Benny's Beer Hall, Don Felipe, and McPherson's Restaurant. And repeatedly, they mentioned the cinnamon buns. So it was well worth having them come through, and it was very enjoyable to get their take on our little area. So I've got the whole thing. If you ever, I can email you the whole report if you're ever interested. And that's it.
You could have a guy from Saginaw come and paint those silos.
Yeah.
Like they did down by St. Mary's.
Yeah, because they're beautiful.
They are.
We
They're real
could just paint like a bunch of birds flying, cardinals flying up on our silo, make it simple.
Still.
Commissioned several
That's true.
Yeah,
Carol's murals are very.
That's true
but
there.
that's not bad to be the only thing, other than a few empty buildings, which they said should be filled. But we all know that. That was the only thing that they noted that could be improved on that way.
So when an elevator looks good, it ain't being used.
Yeah, that's sad. They don't understand that. They weren't country
That's what-
people.
That's why I'm looking at it.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Support.
Been a motion to adjourn, but seconded. Is there any discussion? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried.
So my feeling is this needs to be put on the next meeting.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what I'm going to, well, I agree, I also agree with you, but you've already made a contact with Chris Love on this. And I'm gonna send this to him, see what I'm supposed to do.
That's like what's good.
No, like you said, he said, you're talking. No,
Okay, great.
but I'm sure that you.
Wait, yeah.
Take care of Robert first.
So what to do with his? I don't know if it's a formal complaint.
Oh, I thought he said it was.
So I guess, so he's,
Why didn't it just come by us? Okay.
Like I,
he wants an investigation, so it's not.
we actually got into. I got to.
Oh,
Sharon, did you shut this off?
I clicked stop recording, but I'm trying to figure out how to get out of it the rest of the way.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to push.
Sure, next out of this.
Just. Sure. Go to the. So you should.
Here,
Now, but
yeah, I can write Jackie